there have been 3 emotions that have caused real problems for people. They have wreaked havoc for the entire world over the past year. They are anger, grief, and fear. Many of you might be familiar with these emotions. Sometimes we feel them individually, sometimes we feel them all at once. And we don't like to talk about them. I've heard them referred to as negative emotions. But I want to share something with you. And as I'm about to share this, it's a little sad because I feel like a little bit gypped here, because I learned something about these emotions in the past few years that I wish I would have learned as a child who was struggling with mental health challenges. What I learned is that anger, grief, and fear are 3 of the absolute best emotions you could ever have, and you need them for success in life. And I'm going to explain to you how. Fear, let's take fear first. We have all experienced fear during the past year. A lot of times when you experience fear, the best thing that you can do is feel your fear and process it with a counselor. When you don't deal with your fear and want to push it away, it becomes anxiety. If you've got anxiety, it's going to make the anxiety worse. But when you sit with that fear and feel it, fear becomes vision and courage. We need your fear. Grief. As I bring up grief, I'm very aware that many of you have lost people in the past year, and I know that there's nothing that I can say up here that's going to take away that pain. So just know that you're in my thoughts and prayers. Grief, we often feel in the belly. If you don't deal with it, it becomes a thing called depression. If you've got depression, it's going to make your depression worse. But when you process grief and sit with it and feel it and talk about it with a therapist, grief becomes joy. It's really important to learn to sit with your grief. And the worst one of all, anger, the one we don't like to talk about. If you go and look at the news every day, there's something going on in the news that reflects anger. We think of the worst, hostility and violence. Anger is a beautiful emotion. Anger is actually my favorite emotion now. Anger, when you learn to process it in a healthy way, when you learn to talk about it with a therapist, anger becomes passion, decisiveness, and leadership. Anger, grief, and fear are 3 of the best emotions you can have. And teaching our youth to learn to work through those emotions is a beautiful opportunity that you all have.